Hi guys, Spectre here with a video guide for the Tempest brush build that I use to do the Alkaizer run. I wanted to share this build with you since I find it to be very effective and also fun to play with. So if you're playing a monk and are a bit envious at the barbarians, since the whirlwind barbarians, since they can just whirlwind through the Alkaizer run within 10-15 minutes, fret not, because now with this information you'll be able to do the same using Tempest Brush. So we're going to talk about the gear, see exactly what pieces of gear are most suited for this build. We're also going to take a look at the build itself and talk about each ability and see why it was chosen. And also there is going to be gameplay footage as well at in the third part of the video, so you can see the build in action. Alright, so let's get to it. Any comments or opinions are most welcome. Please leave them in the comment section below. As well, if you find this information useful, don't hesitate to click on the subscribe button. That will also gain you entry to the 1 million gold raffle that's been announced. I do need to mention that since I'm a European player, the lucky winner will also have to be a European player as well, or at least have a character on the European server. Alright, so without further ado, enjoy the video. I hope you find this information useful. Let's get to it. Alright, so the gear. First and foremost, this build is designed again to keep Tempest Brush running throughout the build as much as possible. If used correctly, you should be able to use Tempest Brush 90% of the time without running out of spirit. So, for that purpose, I'm using a two-handed weapon. It's a scorn, and this particular scorn that I have here, I've spent 1 million gold on the auction house to get it. It's not the best scorn there is, obviously, but it does the job, at least for Monster Power 0 or Monster Power 1 farming. You will need to get such a weapon if you are going to use this build. The reason for that is because this build, as you can see, uses the Guardian's Path and relies on that extra 35% spirit generation. We're going to talk about the build in detail a bit later though. So going back, the scorn that I have here has additional critical hit damage, of course a socket, and some decent stats as well. You can also get a die bow instead of a scorn. However, finding a die bow that's going to put out a lot of DPS, that also will give you some decent stats, that also has a socket and extra spirit regeneration, that's going to be rather difficult. So my personal advice would be just go for a scorn. Again, you can find one at about 1 million gold. Now, I'm also using, and this is very important as well, I'm also using a 4-piece Ina armor. The reason for that, and I'm going to tell you more, we're going to talk more about that when discussing the build, is because we're using Sweeping Wind with Inner Storm just to get that extra 3 spirit regeneration per second. So to reduce the cost of Sweeping Wind, I would recommend getting 4 pieces of Ina set. I'm using the pants, the belt, the chest, and the headpiece, the Spirit Stone. Now other pieces of gear, you can just use the ones that you have right now. I'm using a Rare Amulet, Lacuni Prowlers, Hellfire Ring, Vile Ward for the shoulders, gloves, piece of rare gloves, and I'm also using a 2-set Natalia's armor, that is the ring and the boots, to get that extra critical hit chance of 7%. So that's about it regarding the gear. My stats are not that impressive, to be honest. It's I have a 36.5 critical hit chance with a 410 critical hit damage. unbuff damage somewhere around 120,000, 30k maximum life, life per hit 740, and that's about it. Some of my gear also has magic find for the purpose, of course, of getting the most amount of legendaries as possible. Alright, now let's go ahead and talk about the build itself. Now I'm using Fists of Thunder as my spirit generating ability. The reason for that, of course, first and foremost, is that Fists of Thunder being a very fast attacking ability, it will generate spirit faster than the other spirit generating abilities. Of course, if you're accustomed to using something else, you can just simply go for that. It's not necessary that you use Fists of Thunder, it's a matter of personal choice. I also use Thunderclap as the rune for Fists of Thunder. The reason for that is because it gives you that extra mobility. It will teleport you to your target, and also it will allow you to hit multiple targets at once, because Fists of Thunder is a single target ability on the first and second strike. This Thunderclap rune will allow you to hit multiple targets, not just on the third strike but on all three phases of the attack. Alright, then we have Tempest Rush, which is the bread and butter of this build. I'm using Tempest Rush with Tailwind, and since the whole purpose of this build is to speed you through the run as much as possible, then using Tailwind is the obvious choice here. It will provide you with the additional 25% movement speed. Now, I'm using also Sweeping Wind, and I'm not using Cyclone, but instead I'm using Inner Storm. The reason for that is because, again, Tempest Rush is such a spirit hungry ability. You will need additional abilities to generate that spirit that Tempest Rush will eat up. So having Sweeping Wind active at maximum stack count will generate 3 spirit per second. Now also, since we are using the 4 pieces of Ina set, that means that Sweeping Wind will not cost 75 spirit, but instead it will only cost 5 spirit to renew. And this is especially useful when you're running between packs, you don't have anything to hit, and you will need to keep Sweeping Wind up and running. The only thing you'll need to do is just renew it manually, I'm sorry, and by doing so you'll only spend 5 spirit, when in return it will generate quite a lot of spirit. Okay, I'm also using Breath of Heaven. Breath of Heaven is there just for the Blazing Wrath rune, so you'll get the 15% additional damage for all the attacks, which is very useful since, again, Tempest Rush does not do that much damage on its own. You will need to have Breath of Heaven active at all times, so you get the 15% additional damage. Okay, then I have Serenity with Ascension, for obvious reasons, just to keep me alive in difficult situations. During that 4-second window, you should be able to kill any elites or any champions, and as well, at least, if not kill them, it should allow you to survive and to get away from the thick of it. Okay, now I'm also using Mantra of Healing with the rune Circular Breathing. The reason for that is because this will regenerate 3 spirit per second. It would be very nice if we would be able to use Mantra of Conviction with the Overawe rune just to get that 24% additional damage. However, that is just not viable with this build, or it's not viable if you want to have enough spirit to keep Tempest Rush going at all times. So Mantra of Healing with Circular Breathing is the way to go in this case. Alright, let's go ahead and take a quick look at the passive skills as well. I'm using Chant of Resonance for 2 reasons. Of course, first and foremost, Chant of Resonance will regenerate 2 additional spirit per second for as long as Mantra of Healing is active, and also it will increase the duration of Mantra of Healing by 7 minutes. That will be a total duration of 10 minutes, so basically for 10 minutes, first and foremost, you won't have to worry about renewing Mantra of Healing. Second of all, it will regenerate additional spirit for your Tempest Rush addiction. Alright, then we have the Guardian's Path. Since we're using a two-handed weapon, then the Guardian's Path is the obvious choice here. It will regenerate, it will increase all spirit generation by 35% for all the abilities, and since there are a few spirit regenerating abilities that we're using in this build, of course this is the way to go. I'm also using one with everything, mainly because I've stacked fire resistance. If however your gear has all resist, then you can just swap this out for fleet-footed if you'd like some additional movement speed bonus. You can also use seize the initiative to get the 50% additional armor, which is very useful if you're going to attempt a higher monster power difficulty. If you do feel that this build does not provide you with enough spirit, however, you can also use Exalted Soul to get an additional 100 spirit total and 1 spirit regeneration per second. However, I don't feel that using Exalted Soul would benefit you that much. Alright, so that's the gear and the build that we've talked about. Now let's go ahead and talk a bit about the strategy that works best with this build. So obviously you will always want to have Mantra of Healing up and running at all times. Also, this goes as well for Breath of Heaven too. Having 15% additional damage is of course a very significant bonus to have, and is more than recommended. Now there will be times again when you'll be running between packs and you won't have anything to hit, and you will want to have as much spirit available as possible. In this case, what you will need to do is to renew Sweeping Wind manually. By doing that, you will only be spending 5 spirit, but in return Sweeping Wind will generate a lot of spirit. It will generate somewhere around 20 spirit, because for as long as Sweeping Wind lasts, which is 6 seconds, so that's 3 times 6, 18, plus the additional spirit regen that you get from the Guardian's Path passive ability. Alright, now also there will be situations when Tempest Rush shouldn't be used. I'm referring specifically when fighting elite packs or champions. You will notice that elites and champions will go down faster if you just use your spirit generating ability. That will, first and foremost, you will be able to kill the elites faster by using Fists of Thunder or your spirit generating ability for that matter. Second of all, that will generate spirit, so after the pack is dead, you'll have a full spirit pool to use Tempest Rush, and also you will need some additional spirit to refresh Breath of Heaven. So just using your spirit generating ability when facing elites, that's what I would recommend. Okay, so let's go ahead and see how this build behaves. We're going to do a fast Alkaizer run just for the purpose of testing it out. We're going to go to Core of Ariat first. I'm also using the Templar as my follower to get his Inspire ability, which will provide an additional 12% spirit generation as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and see how this build behaves. Alright, from the top you can start using Tempest Rush right away without any problems. You should be able to kill any non-elites also by just using Tempest Rush right away. Okay. So we have another elite pack here. These guys are also enchanted. So as you can see, you shouldn't have any problems in maintaining enough spirit for Tempest Brush to function at all times. Every once in a while you should make a pit stop and just use your spirit generator to get some additional spirit back, but that shouldn't be a problem really. Alright, so from this point forward I'm going to let you enjoy the music and the footage. I hope that the information is useful. Again, do leave your comments and opinions in the comment section below. Also, if you find the video information useful, click the subscribe button. That will gain you entry to the 1 million gold raffle. I'm going to announce the winner in a video posted as a reply to this video 24 hours after it has been posted. I do thank you for your attention. Again, this was Spectre. Enjoyed the video. Good game.